Hello viewers, welcome to Kids Auto and Truck Repair. Today we have a Sprinter van. I believe this is a 2012 Sprinter van. Kylo was telling me off camera that we work on so many Sprinters. We're making so many Sprinter videos. Well, we work on a lot of them, so we're gonna keep filming them. I believe this is a 2012. The customer complaint on this vehicle is the check engine light remains on the dash and the DPF bracket is cracked. So let's scan it and see what we're gonna find and we'll fix it. Hopefully we're gonna fix it. Now, the owner of this vehicle is one of our subscribers. Thank you for bringing the vehicle to us. Thank you for bringing business to us. He's been watching our videos for a while. He decided to bring his vehicle to our shop so we can fix it. Now, behind the camera, we have our famous cameraman Kyler. Thanks for being here. So now let's go in the vehicle so we can confirm the customer's complaint. All right, so let's start the engine first and see. So the engine is running. Kyler, can you see the check engine light on the dash? So right there, check engine light is remaining on the dash. So customer's complaint confirmed. Now, how many miles does this thing have? Oh, okay, let's show the mileage too, Kyler. This van has 238,000 miles, 650. Yeah, that's a lot of miles. All right, I'm gonna turn the engine off. Let's turn the key on. Let's scan it and see what we're gonna find. So this van was at the dealer, and the dealership looked at it and they told the customer that he had to replace the DPF, I think. He said my DPF bracket is cracked, but the dealer is telling me to replace the whole DPF. I was like, really? Maybe you're not telling me the whole story here. So I don't know. Maybe the dealer was right. Maybe they were wrong. So we'll figure it out. So let's see. What year is this thing? I'm gonna look here. It's a 2015. It says 05 of 2015. So 2015 Sprinter van. I don't know why my Snap-on always identifies this as a 2.2 because it's a 2.1. We have 8 codes in the engine computer. Actually, while the scan tool is scanning all these control units, let's go under the hood and do a visual inspection. All right, oh yeah, it's the 2.1. I'm not a big fan of these engines, but hey, they're not that bad. All right, you might have to come on this side. Okay, so here's the DPF. Now the DPF bracket is down there. The bracket looks good. Let me go get a light. I'll be right back. All right, so I have a light here. I am doing a visual inspection. Okay, so this lever is not locked, so that's good. Usually the wastegate lever locks and that prevents the turbo from building boost. Okay, this looks like the diaphragm rod is also not locked. Oh, there's play over here. And that's not good. Now about the DPF bracket, we're gonna have to lift up the Sprinter to figure out what's going on with the bracket, but I don't know if Kylo is gonna see that bracket. Back there, you guys can see it. There's a bracket over there. You see that bracket? Yes or no?
I'll pull the light back a little more.
Kind of, I don't know. This. See where my light is? No. You won't be able to see it. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I wasn't expecting you to see it anyways. Okay, that's good. Okay, you guys can just picture it. Some of you know how it looks like. So we're gonna have to lift up the Sprinter to look at the bracket to see what's wrong with it. Now, while we're down here, let's see what else we can look at. I mean, while we're here, not down here. While we're here under the hood. Let me pull this up. I see oil over here. So we're just doing a quick visual inspection Let's see what we're gonna find. Okay, so we got the engine cover out of the way. There's oil on this filler tube. Nothing too crazy. All right, okay, so you guys can see what I'm seeing here. Let's go back in the vehicle. Okay, so back in the vehicle, we have 8 codes in the engine computer. First code is P13DF-00. It says the AdBlue system has a malfunction. There is a general failure. Okay. And then the second code is P0299, so classic low boost code. The boost pressure of turbocharger 1 is too low. Okay. So we have that same code listed twice. And then the fourth code is P226C. Boost pressure control 1 has a delayed reaction. Okay. Now on this turbo, the actuators are vacuum operated. So we have vacuum operated actuators, and this has 2 turbos sandwiched together. So 2 turbos in one. There's a low boost turbo and high boost turbo. Now, usually what I see is the wastegate on those turbos would get stuck or stick, and sometimes you can have a vacuum line that goes to the actuator. One of those lines can break, or you can have a stuck actuator. So I think we've done 1 or 2 of these here on the channel, so we should be able to go through this pretty fast, and some of you, I'm sure, will remember this. And then we have a code about a knock sensor, P2201-E3. It says the knock sensor cylinder bank 1 has a malfunction. Okay, and then we have more codes. So let's scroll down and see what else we have. Now the customer's complaint is low power. The van is losing power, and that DPF bracket that's broken. So the low power is definitely going to be caused by this P0299, this code that says turbocharger/supercharger A under boost condition. So we got 3 codes on the generic side of the tool: P0299, P2201, and P226C. All right. Now what I want to do is, we can go a couple ways about this. We can graph our boost pressure data PID, or our boost data PID on the scan tool, and then drive it to see how much boost the turbo is building. Or I can connect my RTL to the vehicle and then start the engine and actuate the actuators to see if the actuators are moving. Because the way this works is there is a vacuum pump that supplies vacuum to the pressure transducers that control the actuators for the turbo. So we could have a bad pressure transducer, we could have a broken line, and if the actuator is not moving, the turbo is not going to work. So I'm going to get my RTL scan tool connected to the vehicle, because the bidirectional controls on the RTL work better than the ones on the snap-on. I like looking at the data on the snap-on better, but when it comes to bidirectional test, the RTL is a lot better than the snap-on. So if we go to functional test, let's go to special functions, output controls. See, we should have test. This is kind of a quick difference between, a quick comparison between a snap-on scanner and the RTL Ultra. I mean, snap-on Zeus, because all snap-ons are not the same. Snap-on Zeus and RTL Ultra, the difference between, I won't say what's better than the other, but some things tend to be better on some tests are easier to do on the RTL. Because right now when I go to output controls, it's not giving me a test about the pressure transducers, because we have to turn on the transducers to allow vacuum to go to the actuator of the turbo. So if we go to actuator test, boost positioner, Okay, actually, we have a boost positioner test. Let me start the engine. Let's go under the hood. All right, so the engine is running. I am going to start the boost positioner. Let's see if the actuators on the turbo will move. So Kyler, if you can focus on, so when I start the booster, let's see. So we have two actuators on this one. There's one over here, this is one of them. There's another one down here. Okay, so if you can just focus on this area, let's see if one of those rods will move. I mean, the engine RPM went up. I didn't see a move, right? This didn't move. This one also didn't move. Okay, I'm gonna stop it. All right, so actually, we can check these actuators manually with a vacuum pump. I'm gonna check them with a vacuum pump first. Okay, let's stay low tech here first before we go on a test drive and use the scan tool more. Let's stay low tech first. Let me turn off the engine. Let me grab a vacuum pump. I'll be right back. I got my vacuum pump here. We're gonna switch this to vacuum. Let me make sure it's working. Okay, good. Now I'm going to test these actuators. Actually, let me remove this air filter box. Let me get this box out of the way. That way we can have some room. Because the rods for the actuators sometimes stick. So if we have one that's stuck, the turbo is not going to work. So you can just put that over there, Ian. Okay, first thing we're going to do, we're going to check this actuator. Now, I'm moving it. The arm of the actuator is moving, so it's not stuck. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to disconnect the vacuum line behind the actuator. There. All right, so we got the vacuum line disconnected. Now I'm going to connect the line that comes from my vacuum pump. Okay. Now I'm going to send vacuum to the actuator. So as I'm sending vacuum to the actuator, I want you guys to watch this rod. If the actuator is good, this rod should move. Watch that. See how it's moving? But it's not holding. I mean, it's holding vacuum a little bit. So look, there's play. You see that? You see that play? That's the problem. Let me disconnect this line. Okay. Now this line, this rod, oh, it's sticking. Look. Remember it was moving earlier? Now it's stuck. So this actuator is sticking. Now it could be the actuator or the lever in the turbo. Watch. I mean the wastegate lever. So the stroke should be a lot longer. Yeah, that's a problem. This is gonna need a turbo. I believe that is what he told me. I think he said, the dealer said he needed a turbo. Because usually what happens, you see it's barely moving, right? Look. So this rod, it should have moved all the way back here. So like, let me see. It should have moved kind of like here. You see? So it's barely moving. It should have moved up to this point. So, yeah, wastegate is stuck. So now let's check the other one. Let's check the other actuator. So there's another one over here. Okay, so I'm gonna disconnect this line. Can you see this line here? Okay, maybe let me disconnect it first. Perfect. Look how rusty this is. Look. This is not good. This rust came from the actuator. So this actuator, I mean, although, you see how this one is moving? You see the stroke on this one? You see how this one is moving? See that? And that's how the other actuator should have moved. So now I'm gonna connect my vacuum pump to this actuator. So I'm gonna connect this back here. I don't know how cameraman Kyler is gonna show that, but yeah. So we got that connected, and then I'm gonna bring my pump here. Oh, watch this rod. Look. So it's leaking. The actuator is leaking. It's not even holding vacuum. Watch. The rod is barely moving. Let me move the light, because I want everybody to see this. Yeah, there. Watch that rod. Oh no, I guess it's working. I wasn't probably making good connection. Okay. Now you can tell the difference between this actuator and the first one, right? You see we have a pretty decent stroke there. Watch. All right? Now let's double check the first one so you can see the difference. I mean, you can already tell, but let's just check and double check. Okay. So now we're gonna connect to this guy here. Sorry if my hand is in the way. So the same stroke that we had on this actuator down here, we should have the same one up here. So watch that. So what do you think, Kyler?
Not good.
Not good. See that? Yeah. So that's the problem. Okay. So at this point, we are done with our diagnosis. Now we can check. There is a pressure transducer. Can you show this, Kyler? This over here is the pressure transducer. This, because if you look at, this is the line. You see this line over here? Mm-hmm. This is the line that sends vacuum to the actuator down there towards the passenger side. So what happens is there's vacuum that comes from the vacuum pump through this line, and then the computer opens this valve. It's a solenoid. It opens the valve. It allows vacuum to go through this line to cause the actuator to move, and that causes the turbo to create boost. So now we could also have bad transducers. We can check the transducers. We can do that by starting the engine, turning on the transducers with our scan tool, because at this point I have to tell the customer he's gonna need a turbo. But what we don't want to do is quoting a turbo and then installing a turbo and then going back to the customer after the turbo is installed to say, hey, Mr. Customer, you also need transducers because we didn't check them when we first did our diagnosis. So I'm just going to cover your bases. So I'm going to use a vacuum gauge. I'm going to grab my vacuum gauge. I'm going to connect my vacuum gauge to the line that goes to the turbo actuator, and then we're going to start the engine. We will turn those transducers with our scan tool. When we turn on the transducers with our scan tool, we should have vacuum going to the actuators. If we have vacuum going there, that will tell us that our transducers are good. Then at that point, we're going to confirm what the dealer said. I believe that's what the customer told me. He said that the dealer said he needed a turbo, but he wanted a second opinion. So the dealer, in this case, the dealer was right, okay? So, and then about the DPF bracket, we can get another bracket, so that's not a big deal. So let me get a vacuum gauge, and then I'll bring you guys back up. All right, so we're gonna check the transducer that sends vacuum to this actuator first. So I'm gonna grab this line. I have my vacuum gauge here. So I'm gonna connect my vacuum gauge to the line that connects to the actuator. I can just put it over here, maybe, yeah. So now I'm gonna reconnect this just slightly, because at this point, before I make an estimate for the turbo, I have to make sure that we have vacuum going to the actuators, because we could have a bad turbo and bad actuators So we have to make sure we check everything so we can quote the customer everything all at once. All right, so now I'm gonna start the engine because the engine has to be running. So as you can hear, the engine is running. I have my autel scan tool connected. Let me get the screen recorder going. Okay, so now we're gonna do our bidirectional controls. So you guys will see this on the screen. So check that out. We're reading vacuum over here. Okay, so now I'm gonna turn that on. You see that? You saw you saw how it moved. So the fact that it moved, this tells me that the transducer that controls this actuator is good. Okay, see that? So I'm controlling it with my scan tool. So the wiring of that transducer is good. The tubing is good. The vacuum tubes are good. There. Very nice. Good. So now let's check the other one. I'm gonna disconnect this over here. I'm gonna disconnect this. We're gonna reconnect the line to the actuator. Now we're gonna check this one over here. Kylo, can you see this line? I don't know if you can see it. The line that comes from this actuator here, can you see it? I'm gonna disconnect it. I'm gonna connect my vacuum gauge to it. Look at that. Okay, can you see the gauge? Okay, we got vacuum there. So now let me turn it on. You see that? Okay. All right, so we're good. I mean, we're done. Now, although we had other codes, let me look at the codes. We also had AdBlue codes, but the main concern was low power. I mean, we're gonna have to put some AdBlue fluid in this, I mean DEF fluid, and do some more tests. Let me turn off the engine. So no need to take this on a test drive. So here are our codes. So low boost codes, the wastegate is sticking. That's why we have a low boost code. So to fix this, the whole turbo needs to be changed. And then the knock sensor also needs to be changed. We can check the knock sensor wiring. 95% of the time, the issue is usually the sensor. Again, I'm not just gonna throw a sensor on it. We're gonna have to check the wiring first to make sure the wiring is good. And after that, we're gonna change the sensor. And then the other thing is we have some AdBlue codes. The first code here says the maximum permissible time for enabling the AdBlue injector has been exceeded. So we could have a problem with the AdBlue injector. We could have a problem with the pump itself. Now, we're gonna have to make a separate video for that. This video is gonna be about dealing with a low boost code on this 2.1 liter Sprinter engine. Maybe when we bring the vehicle in the shop, we can do a video about the AdBlue system. So that's the first part of the diagnosis on this Sprinter van. I'm gonna check the AdBlue system. I'm gonna check the AdBlue injector and see what else we're gonna need. And then I'll send an estimate to the customer, and then we'll see what we're gonna find. So I'm gonna leave this right over here. This needs a turbo. I hope you like the video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, give it a thumb down. Be on the lookout for part 2 we might do part 2 on this, or we will do a follow-up video for this on this, so we can let you guys know what the customer is going to decide, because he was asking me whether it was worth fixing it or getting rid of the vehicle. So we'll see. Maybe we're going to get the job, maybe we won't. So get in the comment section, leave a comment. Don't leave a hateful comment. If you got nothing good to say, you know, don't say anything, okay? So leave a positive comment, say something about me or cameraman Kyler. We like reading positive comments, not hateful comments. I mean, we like constructive criticism too. If you want to criticize us so we can get better, go ahead and do it, okay? Because we want to make sure that we're getting better and we're producing better content. So thanks everybody. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe. Cameraman Kyler, thanks for being here. See you guys next time.